Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic Reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rock about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's only one I choose to devote my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And they got away.
You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic Reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It is a science place. It is a scientific fact. They were all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Welcome to it. Welcome to it. Very, very special episode tonight. I'm very, very excited to be talking to Nastasia, and it's going to be a very good time. There's a new record, and we're going to get into the collaborative duo record that just came out. It's really interesting. Before we do any of that, I have to do the stuff where I talk in the beginning, or I'm going to forget to do it. And that's what I'm going to do right now. You're welcome. Welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I am your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer who's been touring and recording for 23 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 359. Now, this is the first time listening to the show. Archives of it are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding, at protonicreversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/protonicreversal will achieve that goal. And if you like the show or even just a single episode, please feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around the internet, and even just leave a review, because all that helps people discover the show, beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. Is what it comes down to it. So there you go. 359. Yeah, 359 episodes of this show. Yeah, think we're getting okay at it. Stoked to talk to Nina. This is an artist that I followed for a very long time. And I have long thought about having on the show anyway, and have just never gotten around to it. Been a fan since Dogs, and that was a very long time ago, multiple decades ago. And and there is a awesome new record that is out, which I'm still uncomfortable with pronouncing, so we're going to have Nina pronounce it for me. I am just overjoyed, though, to talk to Nina Nastasia. Nina, welcome to the show. Is it Jolie Laide? I know what it means, but I've never heard it spoken aloud. Okay.
Jolie Laide, I think it's Jolie Laide.
I mean, you would be in a position to know.
I'm not French, but I think it's Jolie Laide. Yeah, I could be saying it wrong. No, I'm pretty sure it's Jolie Laide.
Well, I love that that's a term for a woman who's attractive despite not being, like, conventionally attractive, right? Which is great. It's a great term.
Ugly pretty, kind of.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
What I kind of got, ugly pretty, which if you look it up, it's funny. If you look it up, like women, Jolie Laide women, they're it's hard to find the ugly, but I guess it means, like, an unusual beauty that incorporates a bit of ugly. Yeah, I mean, I like that concept of, like,
it's amazing. I've
in beauty.
I took German, so I had no idea that it existed. But I know I like when I was like, oh, what is that? Like, that's an interesting band name. And then I was like, oh, that's cool. And then there's like about 1 billion users on Instagram called that too. Like, so apparently that's a very
really?
Yeah.
I haven't checked that out. Yeah.
And there's like hashtags, and I mean, whatever. I didn't dive that deep, but I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm just late to the party of this nomenclature. But so this is a collaborative duo with Jeff.
Yes.
I think it's cool. I did not know that this existed until very recently. I mean, technically speaking, at the time of this recording, it's not out for another 8 days, 8 days. Something.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it, of course.
I forget what date it is. I mean, what date I'm in currently.
Well, there's that too. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, okay. So this is so Jeff was the Cape May was his band, right? Like, how did you throw in? How did this record come to pass? Like, because I think we should start with the more recent stuff. I want to kind of talk about everything, but I think this is an interesting record.
Well, so I knew Jeff and the Cape May because we passed through Steve Albini's studio. So basically, they were recording, they were leaving, and I was coming in with the band to record as they were leaving. And so in that little time, probably where they were celebrating, just finishing their recording,
wrapping it up,
me waiting for Steve to set up everything, we just sat around drinking all night and hanging out. And they're super fun guys, so it was pretty fun. And then later, we were looking for a band to kind of be part of my band, but then be an opener. And so
so they have their own identity, right?
Yeah. So we went on tour, the States and Europe together, which and somehow having done that, managed to stay friends, which was that's
remarkable in and of itself. Yes.
well, just for the stress level that I was on with my partner Conan, it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so we'd stayed, friends for a long time, and then and Jeff knew Conan quite well, and had actually even worked on another project with him. And so when my partner died, we both were it was a pretty intense time, and we were talking a lot, and he actually came to New York and sort of for this moment of time where people were all coming to the house kind of thing. Right. And then when he went back to Canada, I don't remember how it happened. I mean, I was in such a kind of state, but he I think he might have sent me some music and said, what do you think of this? Whatever. And I was like, oh, cool. And then at one point, I even asked him, I was like, can you please send me as much as you have? Because I was so desperate to kind of be creative, because I was a bit, it's a long story, but I was kind of,
I got nothing but time.
Yeah. I had such a hiatus for a long time.
Yeah, it was about 10 years ultimately. Right?
It was more than that, I think. Yeah. But because I couldn't do music anymore with my partner. It's like I couldn't do it without him. I couldn't do it with him, because it would have been a big betrayal to do it without him. And it was a very complicated thing. And so when he died, it was absolutely horrible. But at the same time, there was a bit of and this sounds weird to say, but it was a bit of an artistic freedom in it. I finally kind of was able to, I was very, very hungry to do stuff. In other words, I was writing the Riderless Horse record and then doing the Jolie Laide kind of collaboration that turned into a record. But so it was right in that, it was a very long-winded way of answering your question.
It's a long-winded show. It's okay.
It was basically during that sort of time of intense grieving,
right,
that I started, he'd send me something and I'd immediately write lyrics and melody and then sing it in a little garage band thing and send it back to him. And he was like, oh, wow. Okay. And then he'd send me something else, and that happened. And it happened very fast, fluid, very easy in a weird way.
Yeah.
And so, once we had just, I kept saying, just send me whatever you got, because I'm like desperate to
want to work on something. Yeah,
I want to work on something because it was, it was an intense time.
It's a tough time,
and
yeah.
COVID happened. I mean,
right. That's not even counting the global pandemic. Yeah.
so my partner, we should say now died by suicide.
Yeah.
How it's the correct way to say it, but died by suicide. And like 2 weeks after that, I mean, somehow I was able to get, a lot of friends helped me kind of do the business of death happens. You got a lot of stuff. You've got an apartment.
Which people never talk about, but there is the business of death.
Business. It's like,
Yeah.
there's so much actual physical and mental work when somebody dies. It's a real complicated, horrible time. But anyway, as soon as there were like people, I wasn't in, thank God, in my apartment. Because I wasn't in my apartment, thank God. I was with friends that had a house, and so people I was staying there, people came over, and then people helped me do a little bit, at least move things in storage. And then COVID happened like 2 weeks later, and we were like sterilizing vegetables and like not in the house. It's just insane. So so I was extremely, extremely lucky to not be alone, and have a really, really good friends and have a great place to be during
You had a
that
support system. You had something
huge.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky, because it could have gone super dark if I was stuck in that apartment. That would have been, I can't even imagine. Anyway, so it became an incredibly productive, creative time during that whole thing. So that's how those two records were kind of being formed at the similar times.
So that's what I wanted to kind of get the timeline for, just for my own edification. Is the Riderless Horse record, did that come before or after, or was it kind of at the same time? Or
so the Riderless. So I think well, it's hard to get the timeline quite right. I think they were kind of happening simultaneously. Like some of those Riderless Horse songs most of them were new, and some of them must have been. So they must have been, the Riderless Horse ones must have been partially written after the Jolie Laide, because I was at Steve Albini's and Heather's, his wife, their house. And I would like write stuff, and then I remember just sitting on the kitchen floor, and like Steve would be like cooking or something, and Heather would be there, and I'd just like sit on the floor playing a new song or whatever, and that kind of thing. So I think it was, but they were pretty simultaneous, I think. I mean, the actual recording of Riderless Horse happened after the recording of Jolie Laide, I think.
But the creative aspect of putting it all together and
was pretty simultaneous. Yeah, which was weird if you think of it, because the Jolie Laide stuff is so different. I mean, it's
very different.
It's different in that it's a different kind of writing for me, because it was quite light. It was more like kind of fanciful and light writing, I think. Even if it's a sort of dark subject matters, it was still kind of like there was something fun and light about it. The Riderless Horse record was absolutely no fun. I mean, it was just like it was like a diary that was just vomited out and put some melody on it, and that's it. It was like I don't think it's a particularly fun record, but
it's amazing, but it's super intense. I mean, it's like it's a ride.
It's super intense. There's a difference to that record than all the other ones.
Yeah.
In that there was no real, it really was. I had a dynamic with my partner Conan, where and there was, as all things, people are not one thing. I mean, there were many things, and there were so many amazing things about him, and that I got from him. And one of it was he was an incredible editor. Like in terms of he knew what worked and why, and what didn't work and why. He was and so there was a dynamic that we would have where I would write stuff, and I would always write on my own. But then, he would just be like, yeah, that doesn't work. And it doesn't work because of blah, blah, blah. And then I'd be like, go back in, it was a studio apartment. So I'd have to go back in the bathroom and write. So,
right. Yeah.
Place was quiet. And I was alone in there. So I would go in there and start it again, and rework it. And it kind of taught me how to self-edit that kind of thing. And lyrics are always, for me, they're always the harder thing. The melody comes pretty easy, but the lyrics are always more of a puzzle. So
I think unless you're Bernie Taupin or whatever, that's probably usually the case. the guy that writes lyrics for Elton John, like unless you're like a guy like that.
That's how bad I am. I don't know anything.
That's fine. There's no reason you should know that, but Elton John apparently has an incredible gift for composing music and vocalizing and whatnot, but he is not. He's not very good at doing lyrics. And so there's another guy that he has worked with like his entire career that like writes all the lyrics, and he just pounds it out, and he knows how to write in his voice and whatever.
But, that's nice. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take you on an Elton John tangent, but
it's fine. But it's so there's a lot of
you want to get it right too. Like
you just want to get it right.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it always happens where there's some songs where you have to just like, some songs come super easy. Some magic happens and it comes really easy. And other ones you have to kind of like work at a little bit.
Yeah. Difficult births.
Difficult births. Summer Breach. But then so this one was more of like something that felt like it was kind of vomited out without much. And I didn't care about I kind of didn't care about the poetry of it. I was like, I don't care about it. It's like, I kind of wanted it to be just super raw, and this is it. Like, you can like it or not, doesn't matter. It just needs to go out there, I don't know.
Well, and it's, it works because there's, some of the songs like are still pretty bare. But that doesn't mean that like that they're less important or whatever. No, but they're just like purposely left kind of like sparse because what else does it need? It's fine the way it is.
And it seemed like I was toying with the idea of I've never made a solo record. I was toying with the idea of doing other musicians with it and stuff. But then I just thought, no, it's this whole thing is so I'm so alone right now. You know what I mean? Like I felt I'm really alone. So I'm just going to keep it that way, kind of thing. Because it represents this time,
Yeah, and then there's something to be said for someone else kind of helping provide the spark to get going on things too. Right?
The what?
The spark to get going on things. Like the fact that like he's got some stuff he's sending over to you, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Or
Jeff, well, that's that other thing. Was funny because, if I look back at the time frame of it, I just think to myself, and I remember how like my anxiety level was going through the roof. There was a lot of crazy, I must have compartmentalized quite well, because I was just like, because it does kind of have a much easier feel about it, and I'm just okay.
Yeah, it's certainly not easy listening, but it definitely has an easier feel because because the other record, again, it's fantastic, but whoa, is that heavy? Like it's and congratulations, because that's incredible artistic achievement. But like, it's almost not really an everyday record. You know what I mean? But it's like exactly the right record for when it's time for it.
Yeah.
But this one is definitely, it's cinematic in like a different way, right? Like it's and I don't know, like it seems like very it seems very like Western, like
Yeah.
as someone that I'm from the West, like I live in Milwaukee, but I'm from the West, although I'm, from California.
Where are you from? Oh, you're from California.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm not from the cool part of California. I'm from the Central Valley. So, but I lived in Oakland most of my life, so I can't complain that much, but I'm from Steinbeck country basically.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice.
But like, no, there's a real kind of like easy feel to it that, it's quite the contrast. I mean, it would have been amazing if they came out at the same time, especially.
Yeah.
But it's also I kind of girded my loins a little bit, getting ready to listen. I'm like, all right, let's strap in. I'm like, oh no, this is.
Yeah, we did. We
this is not as intense as that one.
On it for a while too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we sat on it and just sort of waited till, and there was a bit of an issue of like, we need to have timing on this a little bit,
You don't want to be in competition with yourself, right? I mean,
right, a little bit of that.
There's only so many things that people can hold in their minds at the same time.
Right.
So you want to give them their day in the sun, so to speak.
Yeah.
So tell me about the recording of that record, and I want to get more into. I want to actually go. I think it's interesting enough that we should do a song by song on it. But like, just tell me, like, from an overall perspective, like.
Wait, which record?
The new one, the Jolie Laide record is. I don't know if you're a Sparks fan or not, but I love that they did a collaboration record with this other band, Franz Ferdinand. But the first song was "Collaborations Don't Work," which I thought was just brilliantly.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I always think about that whenever I think about collaborations, because it's sort of like, it's difficult when you're in, even as much as you might like the person or respect them as a musician, there's no telling that it's gonna gel, right?
Right. I mean, I was so hungry to collaborate because that was one of the things, the dynamic of my relationship with Conan. It was tough. It was like he was very precious about he was very involved with the music. I mean, he kind of was a big part of the sound of it in terms of, I mean, it was his choice to even record with Steve Albini. I was like, that's, it was a friend of ours, and then Steve Albini, and he was like, we have to do it with Steve Albini. I was like, well, that's expensive, because at the time it was like, I mean, it's not, for what you get, it's not at all expensive.
Certainly.
We're talking like, what we could afford, which was a much smaller amount, but then we did a fundraiser, and it was fun. But that was all him. He was very ambitious and wanted it to be a certain way, and thank God for that, because I'm super grateful for having Steve be the first person I recorded with, and like probably be the last, and just in that way of recording. To me, it's just a great way of recording everybody live, and he is like pretty top person to do it. So I just feel super lucky of having that kind of.
He's getting good, yeah.
It's like getting an education, because I never had a musical education, so a lot of it has come from that studio. Anyway, what am I going long-winded? But anyway, so Conan had he really, a lot of times he had ideas for instrumentation and all that stuff, and he was extremely precious about it, and wanted everything. He was a real perfectionist, which is opposite to me, because I think it's perfection is such a silly concept in art anyway. I mean, it's like, obviously
you're never going to achieve it, and in the failure you'll make something cool. Yeah.
And I think, so he was very careful, the idea of collaborating, either I wasn't good enough or other people weren't good enough. Nobody was good enough to collaborate. It was just it was crazy. So I never did. And I was always kind of like, I always loved that idea, because I think you just learn so much from it, from another person. You learn a ton. And gets you outside yourself, and you end up writing differently, and that's it's whether it works or not. I mean, the experience is important, I think, to do. For me, it was. So, what was the question?
Eventually,
I
wanted to talk about how the songs came together and the recording of it, but no, all that's.
But what were we even saying? We were just talking about like, what were you saying about it? Why was I going in that direction? Oh, it's a collaborating and just in general collaboration. So
collaborations don't work is how I started.
Right, that song. I'm gonna have to look that up now. But so collaborations don't work. So it was so exciting to I was so hot to do it because I had felt like I was in such a cage for so long.
Right.
And so I was hungry to do it, and then it just happened. I mean, I think it happened really easily because there was no expectations.
Sure.
We didn't know what we were going to do. It was for fun.
You don't even know what it is at that point.
No,
right?
we didn't know what it was. We didn't think of a record, and then we just ended up doing all these songs. It was like, oh, that sounds like a record. So so it was easy in that way. And it's funny because I'm going back to Canada to do, we got a grant to do a second record. And cool. I went up early to Canada to do the second record. I was doing the Calgary Folk Fest, and I spent like 3 months in Calgary, and it was weird. It was like we were kind of thinking, oh, this is going to be so easy. We're going to bang something out a second one. And we have the two other people we wanted to be originally we wanted to play on it, and that couldn't. The first record we're able to do the second one. So the second record will be the full band. So
full ensemble. Got it.
Yeah. And it was funny because Jeff and I were trying to do the same thing, and it was like, so it's not quite happening like it happened, but maybe because of, I don't know what it was, maybe expectations, but it wasn't an easy flow until we all got in the studio together. And then it was like, it all made sense. It was interesting. So, it's hard,
Well, because it's not necessarily going to be the same because, it started off being like remote collaboration to a certain degree, and then you're in the room and you always kind of hope that's going to work out okay,
Yeah.
But
it was funny. But it was different, but we're all super thrilled. And it's also really fun because it really feels like a band now. And I've never been in a band.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm
really?
I've never been in a band. So I was so excited to be in a band. I was like, oh, this is what being in a band is like. This is so cool because it's not all on me. And the thing that's like takes a bit to get used to is that you could be outvoted. And that's tough. Like you've got to go.
It's not always going to be your way. Yeah.
It's always going to be my way. But it's nice because it's I mean, there were a couple of times where I was like, I don't think that works. I really don't think that works. And then it almost was like I had to sit with it for a while and realize, and after I was listening to it, I was like, oh yeah, I understand now. I think it really works. It almost like I had to expand my brain a little bit.
So that's an interesting jumping off point because I think that I would be remiss if we didn't kind of dig deeper into the catalog since I finally have you on. Mm-hmm. So when did you actually start writing songs? Because Dogs was like, what, 2000, right? Is it about
for
2000-ish?
Well, Dogs, I had a lot written. I mean, I was really a really late bloomer in life kind of thing. I mean, I was like, I was kind of didn't have much. There was a lot of things I wanted to do, and I always was busy with a kind of artistic thing, if whatever it was I was doing. But the music thing was kind of like, oh, just sort of fell into trying to write songs. And then I was doing it because I was so miserable at my waitressing job, which was just sucked. It was like waitressing in New York City, just brutal. And this Mexican restaurant, I'd just go home and cry every night. And then I would just write a ton of songs as an outlet. And then, so by the time, and I did this for quite a while, but had no real ambition to actually do anything with it. I didn't think I would actually play it for anybody else. And then by the time, you know, then I had a friend that was playing as it was a singer-songwriter. He was just like, you gotta try it. So then I just got in that scene. And then I met Conan, and then it became like, no, you got to do this thing, you got to do it. And
you got to make a record. You have to do this for real.
Actually have a career and all these things. Mm-hmm. And so by the time I was actually recording a record, I had loads of songs. So then it was just like picking through, and all those records I think had some of those older songs in it. And then I would just keep writing to add to it, or until Run to Ruin. Run to Ruin was, I think Run to Ruin was more, I was writing for that record. It was the first time I was kind of writing for a record instead of going through piles of songs.
So that, like what do you think the number of that was? Because I mean that's a pretty decently long record. I mean I think it's like 45 minutes or something, right? There's like a bunch of tunes on it. So how many? Yeah, like how many like didn't make the cut at that point? Like how many were in the backlog?
There was tons of them. Yeah, there was a lot of them, and some of them were terrible. Well, they were gone. But then, I mean, there was like a good amount that was like used for other records, or you know, that kind of thing.
Sometimes a song doesn't necessarily reveal itself immediately too. You know, like you can come back to it and be like, oh, this part didn't work at the time, and now it is, or you know, whatever.
I mean, I'm terrible at practicing. Horrible at practicing. It's like pulling teeth to get me to. I hate it. And solo is the worst. It's better with a band because then you can, you know, when you're playing with other people, it's at least social. But by yourself, it sucks. So I don't enjoy it. So it's like that's work. So then I only do it when I have to, which is terrible because I never become a better guitar player after all this time. I just don't really become a better.
Well, and there's the pressure, like the skin in the game of having someone else, like you're not just wasting your time, you're wasting their time if you don't.
Yeah. So I don't want to be the weak link. I don't want to be the weak link.
Right.
And so the solo. So I've been touring solo, and then that's been. So then I have these blocks of time where I don't, I have to practice, and then there's a long time where I find like little blocks of time I get inspired to write, but I don't it's random. It's kind of random. And I always seem to have a bunch of songs that I'm like, for this next record I want to do, I have songs that I've been writing kind of steadily. So I'll have to write more, but I mean, there was a time where I was actually trying to do it as a discipline and write and like actually go into that bathroom, sit on that toilet and come up with shit. Oh, that's terrible. I didn't realize.
If you were to take that sentence out of context, that would be very terrible.
Sorry,
yes.
I was not on the toilet in that way, but I was like trying to write music, and so I would do it as like a discipline and go every certain time because, I would have a dry spell or whatever, and I'd freak out that I wouldn't be able to write anything anymore. So that I would do it as a discipline. But now I seem to be just doing things as they come kind of thing. So it's not, wasn't that your question?
Yeah. Well, it's about
talking so much. I don't know.
It's fine. You're doing wonderfully. Well, because I'm interested in like there's this idea that you have your entire lifetime to write your first record, and then you have like 2 years to write the second. You know, and so what I'm driving at is that I feel like that's a very strong first record.
Oh, good. Thank
and
you.
a lot of people agreed, and it sets you on a good footing. But I was just wondering, like, if you had like years and years before it, like you don't have the only pressure you have is for yourself, really, to do it. And so without a frame of reference or necessarily even knowing what it is yet, it can be difficult to go through the process of, okay, this fits, this doesn't. And the reason why I'm bringing it up too about that record is because like a lot of that record's the arrangements are pretty sparse, like they're pretty like stripped down. But there's a couple that are like more, I don't know, baroque, I guess you would say.
Well, it's funny. There's like that. It became a kind of style or theme that we would do, where we would get like the most amount of people, like maybe eight of us, and have half the time, half of them were just sort of sitting around waiting
for something to do.
You know what I mean? Like it was very spare, and at a lot of times, and so I really like that.
Yeah. Well, and it reminds me, without sounding like him, it reminds me of those early Leonard Cohen records where it's very just kind of very immediate. It almost feels like you're like sitting on the other side of the bed from him or something. It's like I feel like there's this real kind of presence to it where if you think about the instrumentation a lot of times, like there's maybe not necessarily, I mean, there's like whatever, there's some stuff, there's some strings, there's saw and things like that, but like it's very striking in its sparseness, which if you ask me, like perfect person, Steve Albini, to capture that, because he's not afraid of that at all.
Yeah, I mean he's yeah, he was the really cool thing about him was and what a big lesson I had learned was and the great thing about when you're recording all together is you get these really weird little idiosyncratic things. You could hear a chair, like, or you could hear some
string noise or something.
Something, and it really makes it great. Like there's, and some things, a lot of times, when you play the song and then you're all listening to it, you're listening to your part. I mean, usually, maybe not everybody's like this, but like I'm listening to my singing. I'm doing some weird thing with my voice, and I'm like, you're scrutinizing and trying to get this sort of perfect kind of thing. And a lot of times, like sometimes I've disagreed with him where I'm like, Steve, that really sounds like I'm choking. It's not right.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
But sometimes, like it's kind of like, don't fear genius. It's like, it's giving it something, it's adding to the kind of emotion of it or whatever it is doing, but it's making it unique and special to that moment. And don't be afraid of keeping that kind of thing. So God, there was so much about recording that I learned from him. It's pretty, I recommend anybody wanting to record something to record with him once. It's pretty
well, and he's the kind of guy that, you're not gonna ever get too precious about your voice or whatever's happening, because you know that he's going to be there to capture the thing as what it is and make sure that you're happy with it at the same time. He's not going to pull something over on you like, oh, I did this and you weren't paying attention or something.
No. He's great. It's funny when did you say like, I'm not paying attention? I think the paying attention thing made me think of this. He was, when I was recording Dogs, and he's such a gentleman. He's like a really real gentleman, actually. But he was, he was reading some engineering magazine, or I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like House and Gardens magazine. I don't know what it was.
Cat Fancy, who knows? Yeah.
Oh, Cat Fancy. I bet it was Cat Fancy.
Was it Cat Fancy? Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I bet you it was Cat Fancy. That sounds about right. So he had his nose in Cat Fancy, let's say, and he's just like, while we're doing our thing, and and I remember him saying like, just, this is what I do. I am listening. Don't think I'm not listening. But I guess he looks at, I thought it was really interesting, and he was like, I just don't want you to think I'm not paying attention, but I am. Like, if I hear something it pricks me, and I like do his thing, whatever. But it's funny. That was a little thing that reminded me.
Well, and William Burroughs. I was not there, so I can't verify this story, but apparently he would.
Oh, it would be so good if you were there.
It would be pretty great, right? But he would go to this store regularly, and he would get two magazines. He would get Guns and Ammo and Cat Fancy.
Oh, really?
With the two magazines that he would get.
That sounds about right. That definitely sounds
Looking
about
for the latest issue.
Ammunition.
Which is just big cat lover, Burroughs.
Yeah.
So getting away from William Burroughs for a minute. Okay. So that record, that's kind of where you came to my attention. John Peel was the first one I heard talk about it.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was quite amazing. That was fantastic.
Yeah, and he was
another one that I really lucked out in meeting the really awesome people in music right away. It's pretty great.
And he was, one that was renowned for digging deep and finding all the gems that are out there in the world and presenting them to people. Like made a career of it. Like made a lifetime of it.
Yeah, he was so amazing. I mean, really amazing. It's like, and it really hurt when he left the building.
Yeah. That was a hit for everybody.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, it really did. It was like, oh, yeah.
I feel like that record's actually aged pretty well, Dogs, as well. Like I feel like it almost sounds like it could be written today to a certain degree.
Oh, that's good.
And part of that, obviously the recording process, music in a room, it's generally going to sound the same when there's not like, gated drums, quish, 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 or something like along those lines, or auto tune, or whatever the latest trend is.
Yeah.
But that's one that, since you mentioned you had not been in a band before, like this is like that record was like your first like musical experience in the larger world to a certain degree, right? I mean,
oh, you mean Dogs? You said?
Yeah.
Well. No. So I was playing with other people. I was playing with other people before that. The band thing, it's like being in a band where you're not
the shot caller. You're not the
yes,
ultimate,
you're not responsible for all the material, for all the you have everybody has an equal say, and I mean, so how we would do it, and I'd have people that I'd play with fairly regularly, but I would bring the song in, and then there would be it was interesting. There were some people that were better at, like, they weren't real improvisers, but they were incredible players, and other people that were super improvisers. I was one of the people that I was not an incredible player, and I could not improvise. So there were those two things. But I was writing. Right. I was writing the thing, so I had that going for me. But we were, and we, a lot of us played. I mean, we were a band, and that we played. Yeah, we played with the same people for several records, but yeah. So I mean, this is the first time where I'm just actually solo.
Right, absolutely, yeah, and that's there's always kind of this pressure too of like, okay, well, is this can't no backing away from it. You're not hiding behind like another name or something, right? It's you.
It's been really good to find my footing a bit in performing, because I get really nervous, and so it's like a big nightmare to go out on to the stage by myself.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
But it's been great. I mean, I think it's made me stronger to do it this way for a while now. It's been good, but I'm actually excited to play with other people though, because
when you're going out unadorned, there's no cover too, right? There's no like. You can't rely on. All right, yeah, they'll pick up the slack. No, there's no other person to pick up the slack. It's all you. You know,
No,
it's like a tight wire act.
I've tried to
Tightrope act.
learn
High
how
wire
to.
act.
Yeah, it's like you. I think the biggest thing I was like trying to learn from it, like I'm not gonna not fail because I fuck up all the time. Like I'm
Right.
nervous. I fuck up all the time. I'm gonna fuck up. Like, I mean, I think there was one show that I didn't mess up at all, and I was like, "Whoa, that's no."
Right. Yeah.
So
Hey, it is possible. Yeah.
I think I think what I was trying to learn from this long stint of shows this year was like to be kind of present in it, and if it happens, it happens. You know, it's like if it's egregious, you got to kind of own it, like in a way. Yeah. I don't know. So it's trying to not screw up, but if it find a way to deal with the screw up without like feeling like the sky's gonna fall.
And have you ever dealt with anything where something just isn't working the way that it should, and you don't have any idea why, but like you're locked into it?
I have one show. It was at Union Chapel. Oh, it was a nightmare. It was awful. It was awful, awful, awful. And it was I couldn't get my guitar tuned, and I was so nervous, especially because there was also, I was. That's another dynamic of my relationship with Conan, but it was very, very hard to grow or get better at it, and I needed to get better at it, but it was very hard because it was almost like, I mean, this is obviously super exaggerated, but it was almost like somebody having a gun to your head and being like, okay, now don't fuck up, like,
Right.
and don't screw up because your world is over. If it's
Thanks, pants load. Yeah.
You better do a good show or else your world is over. It's like that's a really hard thing it's a hard to grow in that environment. So I mean, I was so nervous that I couldn't hear, I couldn't read anything. I was just a mess. And then somebody else tried to, but somebody else tried to tune it and they couldn't. I mean, there was something going on with the guitar, and so it wasn't altogether me, but
right.
It went on way too long, and I think I don't remember. I don't think. Oh, it was awful because it was one of those shows where it was like, do you know who was there? Like, kind of thing. I was like, oh.
Sure, yeah, like that really helps. Thanks.
This is why that one show.
Yeah.
So
that's always the one that like the shows where you don't do as well as you'd like. Those are the ones that everyone's there too. Usually, it's why is it that one?
Sure, and it wasn't. It was. I'm sure it was like, oh, poor thing.
Yeah.
She learned how to tune her guitar. I guess. But so it was really.
Right.
It was really bad. I mean, I never want another one of those again. But
Well, but that's again that's part of the problem with like no cover for anyone else. Like you can't be like, hey, take it, Steve.
No, there was a full band with me.
Oh, okay, so then
this is only recently that I'm doing solo. Like solo. I've always played with other people. So
yeah.
Even worse than you can have.
Well, because there's only so much that you can do. Like,
God,
you just ever get to the point where everyone starts jamming. Oh, that's no.
I wish it was like kind of like violent. It was so bad. I don't even want to go back.
Funk jam would have been better. So then talk to me about Black and Air. So that's
okay.
About a year later or so, right? It was pretty quick turnover.
Yes. So there's only there's probably. So my memory gets really bad about stuff in general. I mean, I've learned to like take information and trash it pretty well. So I don't remember any of that, most things. But I do remember with the Black and Air, I remember there was something about the group of people we had. as a band, it was just so great. It was one of those great, easy, fun experiences, as I recall. Maybe it's not, but I think it was. And there was a moment where I think we, God, what was it? It was, I think there was a moment where that was the time where we did that. Shoot, there was an anecdote, and now I forgot. Now the anecdote skipped out of my head, and I can't remember what the anecdote was. I was like mixing it up with something else. Oh no! So there was okay.
So there's something cool that happened.
It was dogs so I'll give you one anecdote from dogs.
Oh, please, yeah.
A Steve Albini anecdote. We couldn't seem to get the one. I thought it was Black and it was dogs. We couldn't get the one song to actually happen. There was something was not working out, and Steve's got a thing. It's like a kind of rule, 3 times you're out kind of thing. If you can't get it on the 3rd take, just drop it and come back maybe, because it's going to get old.
Yeah.
That's just a kind of loose rule. Obviously you can play it.
Otherwise you're gonna hear the joyless toil in the take,
Yeah. But true. So it's a good kind of rule to get in the back of your head loosely, but take it or leave it. You can get it on the 10th too, but whatever. So he's like, okay, well, everybody just, pull your balls out. And they were all men, I think. No, there might have been one woman there, other woman besides me. But so everybody literally did take out their balls. And we played the song, and I think that was the take we got. And apparently Steve and Conan were in the sound, and they, everybody had their balls out then. So we did that. So that was one. I thought there was, I think it was Ugly Face. I think we turned out, and that's on the Blackened Air, right? Yeah. I think so. We turned out all the lights and did it in the, we played it in the dark. I think some of us might have been a little bit sauced. So when I listened to it, if I ever listen to it to remember it or whatever, I'm like, wow, that was slow. But I think it was because maybe that.
Right. It's gonna affect the tempo and libations you consume. Sure.
So for dogs in that one, that was Blackened Air was. I remember it just being fun. Mm-hmm. I remember it just being a lot of fun. Yeah. Not much else.
Not much else to to say. Hey, that's allowed. That one flows very easy. Like it seems everything goes very well into each other on that one.
I think it was like, in my memory of it, I think it was as easy. I mean, there's each record has a bit of a memory of like there's certain things about it. I think Run to Ruin was a big slog, because not a slog. I mean, it was tough because my dad had just died.
Oh.
And so, like, and it was one of those things where I was kind of, it was a tough one. It was a tough one, and it was a hard one. His death was a hard one. The whole thing was, well, I mean, death is hard, anyway, whatever. But it was, so it was a lot of like, really, I was like half grieving during that time. It was at Black Box Studio. It wasn't beautiful. It was in France. It was a beautiful studio, and Steve was recording, and it was, there's a lot of great things, and we did it very fast. We did it extremely fast and recorded a Peel session at the same time. So it was just like, it was a lot of work and really intense. And I was recording a song for the Peel session, and I remember, how you get like fits of laughter sometimes?
Sure, yeah.
In the worst moments. I don't know.
Inappropriate moments, yeah.
Well, you can't stop, or it's like flirts and you can't stop, and then you see like the newscaster, they're like, can't stop laughing. And it gets uncomfortable.
Talking about like a bombing or something like totally horrific.
I was trying to do this song and I couldn't stop laughing. I don't know what it was, but I was just punchy or whatever. And I couldn't. It got to the point where it was getting like, dude, we gotta do, and I couldn't stop laughing. And I just remember just like, I was just like, in the thing, I was just like, dead, like trying to get myself sad so I could do the song. Oh, that made Steve laugh, by the way. But and then
so and that's the first one with that's got Jim White instead of Jay, right, on drums.
Yeah, Jim White.
Great drummer.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's amazing. He's I learned a hell of a lot from him.
Sure, yeah.
That's the other one. That's the You Follow Me. When we did that one, that I learned a lot playing with him. When it was just me and him playing, it was like I really saw how he just it was such a conversation. It was really great. I mean, I think I was so rigid in my performances. I was like I was so nervous that I would just like play the song. I wasn't like really listening. And I think that was, I mean, that's a long time of sort of performing, and not that I wasn't listening before at all, but no. I wasn't listening like I learned how to listen to him then, because it was so collaborative in that way. I mean, he was really another voice.
Right. I give and take for it. Yeah. And so I want to talk about that as well. But before we get off the Run to Ruin record, what was it with the Japanese version of While We Talk?
Oh, yeah. So it was going to be distributed in Japan, I guess, for that record. And so I think they like to have a special kind of version or something, or a different version.
Okay. Yeah.
So we were like, oh, well, let's just do it in Japanese. And I had a friend who was fluent in Japanese and also would understand what I was trying to do in terms of the translation of it. And so I had him record, and he was in California at the time. So I had him, I sent him the song, he translated it, and then spoke it. And then so it was like, it was tough. It was like,
you had to do it phonetically?
Hmm?
Did you have to do it phonetically just to kind of get the, like, I mean, because you're not, I'm assuming you're not fluent in the language. Yeah.
Oh, I don't speak Japanese at all.
Yeah.
So it was, I had to just hear it and just try to mimic it.
Yeah.
And then sing it, So I think, and we did that at our friend's place. My friend Paul Bryan, he did the string arrangements for Outlaster. So when he's a great musician, so we went to his house and recorded it, because it was a little bit painstaking. I mean, we had to like sit there and try to, do it.
No, I mean, it struck me as like, it makes sense with the whole like, the Japanese releases, they like to have an extra thing on there for that. But I remember being like, I was like, is this Japanese? Like what?
It's Japanese. Pretty funny.
Like, and again, when that came out, and you got to understand, like, that's 2003 or something, right? So it's like, now, look, the internet was still around, but it wasn't like you can find the answer to anything with like 3 seconds of typing.
Right.
I was just sort of like, that's really strange. Okay. And last thing on that one too, The Body is a interesting song on there too, because it's just it's so barren. It's so sparse for like so long before it goes in there. That's
I like that.
Good. So tell me, so there's a couple years before On Leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about those years. Tell me about what all happened in between there, because that's a very poetic record. I like it a lot, but it's there was a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, it got. I mean, the intensity of what was happening in my home life was getting just progressively worse. I mean, it's so I don't remember, like, what is it? It's On Leaving, then Outlaster, then You Follow Me, right?
Yeah.
That's how it went.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't remember much. I don't remember much about.
You know what? I was wrong. It was You Follow Me, then Outlaster. Sorry, my bad. I should have checked that.
Oh, was You Follow Me, then Outlaster?
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't know it was. I didn't know it was that.
I'm gonna fire my producer. Too bad I'm the producer.
So, yeah. I mean, it just music just got. The I always loved being in the studio, and the recording aspect of it was really great. But the actual, like, the working towards the creative part got so hard, difficult, and miserable. That I don't even know how those records ended up getting made. I'm happy with them. I'm happy with all of them. I don't go, ugh, it's awful. You know what I mean? I
Sure.
like them. So there were, like, I think the flowers grew out of the friggin' lava or whatever was happening. You know what I mean? Like, whatever was, it was tough. So, and a lot of my memory of real specific things are actually pretty not so good, partially because just the stress of my life was really hard. It was really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a pretty that's a pretty sharp record too. I think it's it's pretty haunting. I mean, it kind of shows through in a different way.
Well, it's funny, the subject matter. I mean, there's always a subject matter. It seems like it's funny when I think back on some of those songs, are a lot about just being trapped, really trapped.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So okay, so then. So all right. So that was on. So You Follow Me. That's the. And again, I kind of cut you off with the talking about working with Jim and kind of opening up like the process.
Yeah.
Maybe
So the Jim stuff was, the Jim stuff was great. We got a rehearsal studio for a month in New York, and I wrote. Basically, like, I wrote songs for that, specifically with kind of him in mind, and then
not just like a drummer, but Jim White specifically.
Yeah.
I get
it. And I mean, not like I would know what he would do, but just had it in mind. And then he would. I mean, it ended up being, like, just so special because he's a real storyteller with his drumming, I think. And and so he can't, it was great. Like, we would just try a bunch of things, and then
Well, and he's got a pretty storied history himself. Speaking of, I mean, he's that guy's like a almost a Forrest Gump style character, and the fact that he's always in the background of these incredibly momentous things are happening.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's he's special at what he does. Really is. Yeah.
And he's got a style that you can, like, instantly be like, oh yeah, I know who that is.
Well, there's nobody like it. Yeah.
I can't. I don't necessarily have the vocabulary to describe it, but it's. I mean, that's.
Oh, I'm awful at that too. I mean, I don't know how to describe it either. I mean, it's just yeah, I mean,
he's a musical drummer too. That's another thing. Like, he's got he writes like drum hooks,
Yeah.
his way.
It's very expressive.
Yeah.
It's not like, I mean, it was pretty perfect because the idea was to have like, I'll write some songs and then you could have like a whole orchestra of this guy playing the drums. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
It's you can express a lot of different things with those banging on that thing. Yeah.
So how was that one created? Was that one kind of similar to the other ones in the fact that it was, mostly band in a room? Was it kind of more?
Yeah. I mean, it was just, God, wow, that's weird that I don't really remember.
I mean, it was a while ago.
I don't really but I don't really remember the dynamic in the studio about. I don't remember it. I mean, I imagine that, like my dynamic with Conan, we would keep it very sort of quiet. Like I wouldn't know. Nobody knew the extent of what was going on in terms of it was very like psychologically abusive and but nobody like saw that really, but he was a difficult character. I mean, he was a remarkable character in that he was like he was super smart, like really, really smart, and but smart in a way that's not working for him. His brain was his biggest enemy. Was really.
I do know. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he was remarkably talented in a lot of ways, and funny and all that stuff. But he was also just super difficult. He was a difficult person. Yeah. So I think, I mean, Jim was a real, he was also a good friend. So it was, yeah.
Were they at loggerheads at all?
Easy. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure that record wasn't easy for Jim. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how he would feel about it, but I think it was like, I think everybody kind of felt the pressure of. Conan had a real perfectionist thing, and it's stifling, to be in that environment. I don't know. I don't remember a lot of how the recordings went, but I imagine. Yeah. I don't remember.
What's the our discussion thing? Because that was there was a boom bip. There's the matter of our discussion. How do those?
Well, we changed the names for the sake of a publishing kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he did a what do you call it when you electronic version?
A remix.
Remix. That's what it is. Remix. He did a remix of that. And and that was a much older song that got kind of reworked.
And that was that was like what 2005, 2006, somewhere around that neighborhood.
Oh my God, you can't ask me that. I have no idea.
This is a rhetorical question. I'm actually looking it up now.
Okay, you look it up.
Okay. So the Blue Eyed in the Red Room was the original recording, 2005, and then 2007 was You Follow Me. Okay, there we go. That's
okay.
Let the record show.
So that the boom bip version came out first.
According to the internet, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
yeah.
Oh, okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
steamroll you there. So that's a there's You Follow Me is very well regarded. That's one that like a lot of people kind of came in on as well. Mm-hmm. Great drum sound on that too. I mean, not that the other ones don't, but like really great.
I mean,
the drum sounds super killer on that one.
Steve really knows how to do that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty good with these drums. He's getting good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anything that jumps out of you for any of the rest of those tunes, like The Day Would Bury You or Late Night or anything like that.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, just Um, I mean, I always have always been kind of thoughtful about darker, more troubling aspects of the humans. Human condition.
I've noticed. Yeah, I've picked up on that. But quick study.
Yeah, and so I think it's probably always going to be that way. But like I always said, I was feeling so trapped and really losing myself, and so yeah, kind of, yeah. I think that's a theme through. I mean, it's going to be a theme throughout.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
it's
exactly what it is, and it's there's nothing wrong with that. It's what it is.
Definitely, through through Riderless Horse, the last record is I think I realized that it was such, and the Jolie Laide idea, it's such an important thing for me in a coping mechanism to find some kind of some positive or something beautiful in the extremely ugly, bad situations or whatever it is. Like, it's kind of the only thing to keep me going, of like, I have to, it was almost like I need to turn this awful thing into something that is pretty, or like, that kind of thing. And so I think it ends up always being a goal to try to do that, just
well, and it makes it unique too. I mean, like, there's not a lot of, I mean, not to jump ahead, but but like there's not a lot of honest, intense songwriting that gets that real with it. Like, I can think of like No Children by the Mountain Goats, John Darnielle being like, I hope you die, I hope we both die. It's like, yep, there you go, been there. Where it's like, yep.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, everybody goes with it. I mean, everybody goes through a thing,
But it's almost so intense that most people like would lack the acumen or will to put that to song so eloquently, and to use that as, like, again, to take that and I'm just always, not that I think your stuff sounds like Leonard Cohen, but use that early Leonard Cohen immediacy of just like feeling like you're on the other side of the bed from someone, and it's like, oh my God, should I even be listening to this? This is so crazy. But then by the same token, like, finding, maybe echoes of parts of that in your own life, or even if it's like a single phrase or something that it's like, oh wow, I've never heard that. That's genuinely impressive, because for whatever genre you operate in, there's not a lot of innovation, and I'm just gonna throw that out there. That like it's hard to do something that really hasn't been done in that way. But I mean, that record blew me away, and I would say that as a fan of like your whole stuff. Like, I mean, it's like it's
great. Yeah, I mean, it's it's like that other reason I wanted to even be kind of vocal about the whole aspect of suicide or abuse or all that stuff, because it's clear in the songwriting, and I was just like, well, okay, I should probably share it a bit, not share the specifics too much, but just share it, because it's like, it's something that needs to be talked about. And it's like, also it's just,
you're not soft footing it forward though, but that's the other thing. It's not that you're being cruel. It's just God, it's such a fine line. It's such, because it's like it
is a fine line. It is a fine line.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's tricky. It's like God, I just love people, like really funny people that can make that can find something funny in everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you know, somebody that can make suicide funny. Awesome. Right? Suicide is funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, it's a gift to be able to, you know, and it's hard because you could, you know, I guess, well, it's also hard. It's all subjective too. I mean, somebody's not going to think it's funny, but somebody's going to think it's funny. But I don't know. It's now I don't know. Now I'm just rambling, but it is. Yeah, it's like I guess it's. I mean, I guess that's the great. I guess that's a great thing about doing something like trying to some terrible subject. You're trying to get some just shitty, awful thing out and turn it into some nice song. You know, like it's
tumultuous, right? I mean, it's like it's something where it's not like if it was a movie or a TV show or a book or something, then you'd be like, well, it'd be disingenuous not to tell this part of the story. But it's just usually by the time a songwriter would process something like that, it comes out as something. It comes out as allegory. It comes out as something where like it doesn't. it isn't as immediate somehow, and I think that that's a natural reaction maybe to be like, whoa, this is too much. This is like oversharing or something. But it never comes off as oversharing. What it comes off is you making something dark and beautiful out of multi-decades of a multifaceted relationship that was not just one thing.
right.
And it could be remembered only as the good and could be remembered only as the ugly.
Yeah,
but it's not either.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm really glad that you got that from it. That's actually great. Thank you. That's good that you got that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
you know, I mean, and I happen to, it might be too much for some people, but I mean, I happen to like things like, you know,
it was too much for me first time I heard it. I was like, whoa, I'm not going to listen to this right now. And then like I listened to it later and I was like, oh God, this is genius. But I was like, I at least had the recognition to be like, not my vibe right now. I can't go that deep right now. I'm, driving to the grocery store. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, I was like, when we were mastering it, I was just like, and I hate the process of mastering anyway, because I don't have really fine-tuned ears for that kind of thing. You know, it's like somebody goes, oh, which one do you like? This or this? And I was like, are they different? I mean, it sounds like I can't tell.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, but we had to listen to like test pressings and or you know, and also, you know, go through all that stuff and it was I'm not one for being like, oh, I'm too sad, I can't do that. You know, I'm not like that at all. But this time I was like, yeah, fucking can't do that. Like it was Christmas. It was like around Christmas, I think, or I think it was somewhere around the holiday. I was like, fuck this. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to listen to it. I don't even want to listen to it.
I think there should be a special dispensation when it's that close to that's not close to the bone. That's the marrow of the bone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there should be like, no, don't worry about it. We'll parse through A or B. It's like those eye tests. If you have like vision tests for A or B, I don't know. They're fine. Yes, maybe, same. I don't know. What is vision?
Yeah, exactly.
What is hearing?
I left it to. I was just like, luckily I trusted the people that were doing it. And I was like, yeah, you decide. I don't fucking want to listen to that shit anymore. I'm sick of it. So.
And with mastering, that's something where people mostly notice if it's bad. They're never gonna be like, you know what, mastering that is really great. It's like nobody except for other mastering engineers, nobody says that, right? Yeah. But you definitely, it's noticeable when it's bad. That's what I'll say about that.
Yeah.
But less said about that, the better. So I feel like I want to mention Outlaster. First of all, I love that album cover. Like I think there's really good album covers on all of them. But God, that one is like a standout.
Conan drew that. That was like he was great. Yeah. And then I made T-shirts out of that one.
I think I saw those. Yeah.
You would have hated that idea. do I do? Do I do this? He would have hated that. Oh well. But you want to hear?
Didn't fit the vision. Anything you can tell me about Outlaster before we move on?
So I will tell you something about Outlaster because it's like so we got Paul Bryan, a friend of mine, to do the
orchestral stuff.
Yeah. And he was like he was super busy and he wasn't going to have a ton of time and he was just like I'm not going to have a lot of time, but he did some stuff, but then he ended up doing a bunch and he did a bunch and was able to go to the recording. And it's funny because he would like and I realized this about myself during that recording I was like, I have a really narrow taste. Like, when it comes to, so he was just, he was like, it's going to be a flute. And I was like, no fucking way do I hate a fucking flute. I'm not going to have a flute. I'm not going to have it. No, I'm not going to have any wind thing on that. Like, it was just something about it. I was just so opposed to certain things. And there was, and he had, and I was like, and no jazz. Like, not that I don't like jazz. I like, but just no jazz notes and no, it was just so rigid. And he wrote, I think it was, what song? I can't remember what song, but he wrote a part where I was like, ooh, I like it. And it was the same thing as and he's just like, no, it's really good. And I'm glad that, he stuck to his guns with it. And Conan liked it too. And I was like, ooh. And it ends up being my favorite thing. I mean, it's like, it was the, what's the song? I can't even think of the name of the song. That's how sad it is. Like, I don't listen to the records after they're done.
Sure. Well, that's.
But it ended up being like I loved it because my taste grew. Like I kind of. It was really like it was coming to understand something. You know what I mean? Yeah. It wasn't just like. And there's certain things like I don't think there's I grew up listening to it from my dad's studios next to me, his art studio, and he'd play this radio, and it was always that like creepy 70s stuff, like but like the raindrops keep falling on.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Neil Sedaka. Yeah.
70s stuff that and I don't think I could ease into that, but this was nothing like that. But I'm just saying it was a situation where I think I really learned. It was the same situation with the band thing. Like I didn't get it, and then once I got it, I was like, oh, that's really great.
And just from an instrumentation standpoint, there's not a lot, not miles of difference between Neil Sedaka and Tortoise, but there's a world of difference between those two things, right? I mean, it's. And I understand like the initial maybe distaste, if not revulsion, towards this cultural shorthand of like, oh, what are we doing here?
Yeah. But it
sounds like AM radio. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's interesting when
it's grandma's music, as my friend used to call it.
But it's interesting when you kind of. When something opens up, I mean, it's different. Yeah. There's certain things that I'll just never really like because it's just how it is. But there's some interesting when something opens up and you actually see in real time how you've kind of grew up in a way into appreciating something, and then it becomes like something you really love. That's interesting, and you don't get that unless you do collaborate with people. I mean, it's like it really is a beautiful thing about that whole idea.
Yeah, and you find that like, oh, this thing that maybe had this reflexive kind of revulsion towards that, like, oh no, what I was revolted by like wasn't like the thing itself, but maybe this larger cultural shorthand that of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool record, and I wanted to also invoke it because that was the last one before Riderless Horse, and 12 years.
Yeah,
I think I said 10 years before, but
there was another record. There was another record that was a bear to try. It was like, it's so interesting. I mean, it's interesting if you could see the movie of it, you'd see the breakdown of all the stuff.
right.
By the time we tried to do a recording that just didn't work. And it was just everything was breaking down at that point. It was so it was just such misery that it wasn't happening. It was just ruining the music and it wasn't happening. So there are some recordings that.
Well, there's that the handmade card, right? There's that was.
So that one was something that I recorded as a gift to Conan as like a Christmas gift, and I recorded it with Paul Bryan at his house, and I just did it one night and just that was like a lovely fun thing, and he did all the instrumentation on that and stuff. And it was really fun. That was really fun. So that's like a joyful kind of thing. But this other record, I mean, I'll have to go through. I think Steve might have those recordings. Go through and just see what's salvageable, if anything. And some of those re-recorded and all that stuff. But it was, you could just everything broke down. And after that, I was just like, I can't. It's not healthy for us to be doing music. It's
right. Oh.
Which was so sad.
Because it's like
I love it. I love doing it.
It's this bonding thing, this beautiful actor creation, sort of perverted by these other experiences and emotions and things. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So all right. So that's a breaking news there. That there's potentially some gold during these fallow times.
Maybe, yeah.
So when we came in, we were talking about Keenan. This is right before the COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
Horrific time for any thinking, feeling human being, but really. But I mean, that's like the double whammy. It's like you are in this situation where it's complicated. It used to be a status on for relationship status, but it's also a state of mind, and you've got all these complex, nuanced emotions and experiences to process. But then you're also free to do it.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird having so many different feelings about something like that. So it's weird.
Yeah, and it's bittersweet, right? I mean, to put it bluntly.
It really is. It really is. It's and it was a struggle to, I mean, this record has been, and doing all the touring that I've done this year has been it's been really a kind of test to see. I was kind of almost testing myself to see, am I capable of doing it?
Of doing this.
I got to a place where I was feeling like I wasn't capable of anything. You know what I mean? Certainly even sitting down and speaking to another human being on a podcast would have been
not
really
in the cards.
Next to impossible. I mean, when any of the interviews I did were just, I was phobic of it because I was so afraid of I guess being myself, because I don't know, but it was on radio things, and people would ask me on the radio, they'd ask me something, and I'd go,
yeah. Well, yeah, because it's so it's such a weird thing where you almost like, it feels disingenuous to try to put it into words when it's already pretty succinctly been put into words to a certain degree, But then also by the same token, it's like, it's right there, man. Like,
Yeah.
You need no more?
Yeah.
Want to know what mics they use? Go ask Tape-Op,
Yeah.
like so it's a fascinating record that sort of on the face of it doesn't need doesn't need like a surface level interpretation because it is all there. And then by the same token, because of the subject matter, it also should be treated with some degree of sensitivity, which doesn't mean you're a Fabergé egg.
Right.
But
Yeah, I'm not a Fabergé.
But like you never feel like you're barging in on this record.
That's good. God, that's great. That's great. Thank you. That's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, and like I said, I don't think I've heard a record quite like that in that way, but it's laudable because, I mean, again, how many freaking people are out there like writing songs and playing guitar? Lots, as it turns out.
Yeah.
And it has a very unique kind of immediacy that I have not heard a lot. Even, again, taking away the entire rest of the catalog, which I obviously no one can do that. Everyone's tied to their history to some degree, but like just like as a work of art on its own, like it occupies a really unique space.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Which is surprising because that's very hard to do. But obviously that wasn't the end goal wasn't to do that. It was like that's how it turned out.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and just the idea of like making music becoming a misery, right? Like, and then like,
I mean, it's sad, and I think I'm trying to make up for lost time too because it's been just keeping really busy, and because I it's sad. It's like it's so sad that I was out of it for so long because I didn't want to be. I mean, I loved it, but also I didn't have the ambition. I mean, I actually feel for the first time in my life, actually, like, oh, I'm kind of ambitious now.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But before, it was a real problem because I just hated all the stuff around it. I just wanted to do the thing, and I never felt kind of good enough because of because of my relationship I was in. It was a constant feedback of like not being good enough. So it was so it's just sad. It's like really, really sad, and it's sad that
which is not what he wanted to be remembered for, I'm sure, but like also
well, the thing is he was just I mean he wasn't all one thing. That's and I hoped that I had kept that in that
absolutely
record. Just like he wasn't all he was so ill and troubled, and so mental illness is it's very tricky thing to manage, and somebody that can be so high functioning in some ways. He was not high functioning at all in the daily life, but in terms of what he could absorb in his brain was remarkable, and how what he was capable of was remarkable. But it didn't. He just was his own worst enemy in that way too. He just
Talk to me about that version of "You Were So Mad" with Marissa, who'd been on this very show.
Oh yeah,
not a long time. She should be back on, but
what
she's
a
great.
Peach. What a peach of a girl. I love her. Yeah,
she's wonderful.
She's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, that was like she actually said she wanted to do something on it. I was like, yeah. And then I heard it and was like, oh my God, it's so fantastic. I loved it. So, and then it was like, do another one. Like she's really she's great. I mean,
She's a little powerhouse, man. She's
yes,
impressive lady.
Really exciting to watch and listen to, and she's got a really unique, incredible voice, and she's just it's always really great to run into and meet new people that are just good people, like just good people. It's always nice when somebody's like good at what they do and they're actually not an asshole either. They're like really nice people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's nice. It's
really nice,
nice
really great. You know, so that's I have all good things to say about her. She's great.
Yeah, and I thought that was I thought that was cool. I don't know, a cool version of that song. Like,
yes, I do too. I absolutely do, and that's the great thing about, just it's so fun to hear somebody else's interpretation and voice and what they bring to it. It's like opening up a whole new world.
Yeah. The context changes it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then that tour with Mogwai, how was that? Seemed like that was pretty
another
good.
Thing. Like, yeah, I mean, so this has been not one asshole in my travels. Like,
right. That's awesome.
Everybody, I mean, they were super fun. I knew Stuart from before when I was touring before I'd met him, and they're fantastic, and their audiences were fantastic. I mean, the same thing with Wilco, just this last one.
Oh yeah,
it's just
those guys.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Really, just welcoming, lovely, fantastic people. Really, so. And excellent audiences too, which was I don't know if it's I was thinking about it because I was like, when the Mogwai thing, I was doing the Mogwai thing, I was just like, these audiences are weird, like because they're so. It was might as well like I was doing my own show. It was like they were so attentive, and they're such loyal and diehard fans of both Mogwai and Wilco, and they just are so generous, and they're fantastic.
That's great.
And I was saying to a friend, I was nervous with the Mogwai thing. I was just so nervous. I hadn't played out for it.
It's been a long time. Yeah, I mean, because you did that hideout thing, and
I was terrified. And then, I'm low battery. We must have been on for a long time. I better get a cord. Anyway, I better get a cord, shouldn't I?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, go get a cord, Nina. Thank you.
So I'm looking at it, it's like, wait, hold on. I'm going to get a cord.
We're on with Nastasia, who's currently getting an AC adapter for the computer.
You know what I don't have? Okay, this is like turning into a super casual kind of thing, I guess. So basically I'm in. Oh no, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
Oh well, I lost you somehow.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this will take forever. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Well, I can't really see. Oh, there we go. So now I'm
oh wow.
I'm in bed.
I'm the one that mentioned being on the other side of the bed, so like 3 times. So there you go. We're literally on the other side of the bed. Okay.
So what was it? Oh, my hair looks like shit. Okay. I shouldn't be looking at myself. Okay. What were we saying?
The Mogwai crowds, the Wilco crowds being very attentive and very giving.
Just really, really fantastic. Yeah.
Seems like a pretty soft landing for people.
So my friend. So I was saying to my friend, like, I'm a little terrified. I haven't performed. I'm terrified. And he's like, oh yeah, you're doing support. Nobody's gonna be listening to you. It'll be fine. And then I was like, oh, thank God! Like nobody, not have to worry about it. And then I was like, what the fuck do you mean nobody's gonna be listening? Well, then I was like, well, I gotta start with an acapella or something. So I wrote an acapella song, and I was like, they're gonna have to listen. I can't be looking at myself This is ridiculous. Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Look
I'm not
lovely.
gonna worry about it. Clearly. Anyway, so I was thinking even that, I wonder if COVID was such a oppressive time, and then people are finally going out and seeing music, and maybe are just so excited to see new stuff. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's
You've hit on something, and I've talked about this in this very show.
Yeah.
Which is that folks that would be inclined to maybe take it for granted or maybe not be entirely present or whatever before the absence of it for like years. It's like, oh no, I don't know how long, if it's going to be a permanent thing, if it's going to last, but people are way more engaged.
Yeah. And
it's
it's understandable too, right? It's understandable. You're going to go see a show with your friends and you're going to want to talk to them and go to the bar and do all that thing before the show happens.
Sure.
It's not as interesting, I mean, sometimes to see the opener, but, I mean, I'm talking like an asshole, but I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying understandable. It could be an understandable thing to not go into the theater and sit down and watch the thing or whatever you're saying.
I always characterize it as no matter how good you are, you're in the way of somebody's favorite band.
Yeah.
Which is freeing in its way,
It's true. Yeah. But I mean, these people were like both of them. They were just really lovely, really good. Yeah. So it was a fantastic experience, both of them.
I believe it, and I'm glad you're out doing it.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, that's how I want to do more of those kinds of things too, because while I'm, working on the next record, just for this next year, maybe do that until I can.
Yeah, because it was such a long. It was such a long time period where nobody could, right, for a long time, and then
everybody is.
And then now everybody is. Yep. No, that's you. Take to the next part of it. I do want to talk a little bit about Jolie Laide record, and you've been very generous with your time. I don't want to take too much of it, but too late. If you're into it, something that I like doing with new records, just because kind of you're able to highlight things that maybe you wouldn't normally be able to, or maybe you wouldn't even think of, is kind of just go through each of the songs. And if you don't mind doing that, just you can say something about where it came from, where the title came from, lyrics, just anything along those lines. Is that something you're remotely into or not? We don't have to do it.
Well, we can. So I'm trying to name the.
I'll put it up on the screen here. Is what I'll.
You run by the list. What's the first?
So
run the list.
Pacific Coast Highway is the first one, which is easy enough.
There's Jolie Laide ones.
Yeah. That's it. No. I don't look. I don't think I have the emotional acumen to go through the other one right now.
Thank God. Okay, so the Jolie Laide one. So the first one is which one?
Is Pacific Coast Highway, and I want to, and again, because that's the one that we're trying to get the attention on, ultimately, and I think it deserves a day in the sun, so to speak, which is funny because it's a sunnier record as much as it can be sunny.
Yeah.
So here we go. I got Pacific Coast Highway as the first one up on the Jolie Laide record.
Okay, so I don't know my glasses.
Oh, here I can crank up the font here.
Anyway, so Pacific Coast Highway. Well, Pacific Coast Highway. I grew up in Southern California, so
the actual PCH. Yep.
Yes, and so I would, I would always be taking that Pacific Coast Highway, like when going to the beach, always because I grew up, in Upper Vine Street in Hollywood. So I would make that trip with my mom when I was a kid, and then make that trip when, teenager. And I loved the beach, and so it was it kind of represents a kind of youth. It represents freedom and that kind of thing. Why I drink.
Well, hold on. So on Pacific Coast Highway, there's before we, it's not a speed round. It just so you know, but it's.
Well, I'm not really one to say much about stuff.
No, that's fine. You don't need to like lay it all bare necessarily, but
yeah, but it's. I mean, that's what.
It's your way home, though, as you've
Yeah,
established. In the
yeah.
song,
Basically, I mean, yeah, and pretty much the whole record to me sounded like the West Coast. It just felt like everything felt like the West Coast. And when I think of, and I'm here now at my cousin's house, actually staying here for the holidays.
Oh, okay.
And
nice.
And it's just it's funny. It's like it's just a lighter, sunnier place. It
is.
I love the East Coast, actually.
And
and
as
I would end there, but I mean end up there, but yeah, I do like, there is something special about the West Coast. It's
I do find myself missing it.
Yeah. It's nice to be here, that's for sure.
Move Away Towns is the second song.
So Move Away Towns is, I think, because of my oppressive time during, the 26 years or, in this relationship that was, I'm not saying was all bad at all, but I think that there was something, because there was a kind of coercive control in it, and it was just like we were together constantly, and that was a must kind of thing, there was this idea of kind of like you're with someone, you're not tied to anything, you're not tied to the actual person, you're not tied to the place,
right.
You're kind of drifting from each, grifting. These people, these characters are kind of grifters, so you don't have a job, you don't have anything, you're just like kind of roaming around free,
right? Grifting through the night instead of drifting through the night.
Yes, exactly. And it's just was so appealing to me for so long. I mean, part of me still feels it's kind of almost to be, it almost is, well, yeah, it's a whole other thing, but it almost feels unnatural to be tied to one place and person and all that, and so, yeah, it ended up, I think that's where that comes from. It comes from a kind of sort of dreamy, little movie short of this idea, this couple kind of going around. That's it.
Nevada gets some shout outs too, which they always appreciate.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
A state that rarely gets a shout out as a state.
Right. Yeah. State for grifters. Yeah.
What I always say is like, look, I can talk trash about Nevada all I want because I'm from California. So but it's like no one else can. If you're not not from the area, no, you can't talk trash about Nevada. Exactly. How dare you?
Yeah.
It's like your difficult sibling or something.
Right. Exactly.
Way Too Soon is the
okay, Way Too Soon. How does that go?
Fell asleep and woke up in the wrong broken bed. That one.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's kind of all the same kind of just being trapped in your misery kind of thing. I mean, I think you could, trapped in your misery might be like why I drink. Yeah. Could be a lot of those ones.
Running theme. Yeah.
It's a running theme. It's kind of a running theme. I mean, I would say, yeah, it's a running theme.
I like on Way Too Soon, too old to bear and too young to care. I think that's a killer line.
Oh, thanks.
That's a good one. So yeah. What?
Misery.
Why I drink? More misery.
Yeah.
Won't this pain fall back on the floor?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but then it ends hopefully, right? Because it's like, I don't want to die just yet.
Yeah, I mean, there is this like kind of back and forth. Certainly that I was feeling of like wanting to never wanting to die or anything, but just having just being kind of overwhelmed and consumed by that whole thing. I don't know how to explain it now. I don't know how to explain it, but you know, trapped in misery. Let's do the trapped in misery.
Death and Money. Death
How
and
does
Money
that
is the next
go with
one.
the lyrics? I can't remember now.
That's got the amazing line, "We got everything but money, but it won't slow us down at all," which I think is incredibly
Oh yeah,
like short story evocative, like baby
Yeah,
shoes for sale, never worn level of
yeah.
short
I mean,
story.
it's kind of like a, you know, I mean, a lot of these are just like super romantic ideas, right? Or like just romantic ideas of relationships,
Yeah.
whether, you know, dark or light. They're just like this romantic extreme kind of, I don't know.
Driving on a cool highway, like
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know, top
Yeah.
down, right?
Yeah, basically.
What Old Joy? What about
Hmm?
why is it Old Joy in that? Like, why is that a?
Oh, you know, that's funny. What? Well,
I like the phrase, but is that?
yeah. Well, it's funny because that one was from, I think Jeff threw that one in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, he did. I didn't come up with that one.
All right.
Yeah, that's the one line he threw in those, in terms of were those ones. Yeah, those
All
songs.
right.
So, but it makes sense. It's like, you know, I think it's just like a pure kind of thing, you know, pure joy.
Yeah. Wanting for nothing but good weather.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is in short supply in Milwaukee right now, let me tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been pissing down rain, cold rain all night.
Ooh, yeah.
I'd almost rather have snow. At least snow, there's like some degree of beauty to it, you know? It's like, ugh, this cold rain can go pound sand. Anyway.
I know.
That's your weather report, by the way.
Right?
My Darling is next one.
So, yeah, I mean, that's just like,
Speaking of snow.
that's just a murder ballad, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And certainly you can kind of guess why, right?
Yeah.
It's just, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's just a murder ballad. I mean,
Rich tradition of murder ballads.
yeah, basically.
God of Gamblers. How about that one?
Which one was? Oh,
You got a way
right.
of changing my own mind, then I say
Well,
fuck it.
that's like, that was about really like this idea of, well, it's like this. It's like getting involved with a narcissist or somebody that's or like a guru, you know what I mean? Like somebody that's sort of takes over and controls you, and I mean, I'm doing a terrible job explaining these songs. I'm not one to explain them. And I don't even know why I actually don't know why I'm even doing it with you, because normally I would be like, yeah, no fucking way am I going to go through every song. But I like you, and I was like, okay, I'll do this for him. But I really suck at it. Like,
Well, you don't have to do. I mean, I'm not trying to force you
now
into
we
it.
have to, because we're almost done.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. It's kind of late. I get this point.
You know, I don't know. It's yeah, it's like a cult kind of personality person, like sort of.
Yeah.
When you lose yourself just to a thing that is like a sort of a higher power, kind of higher, somebody feel is the higher intelligence or whatever, and you're giving up your thought
Right.
to that, you know.
Isolation View.
Yeah, shooting up heroin.
Pretty
Done and done.
straightforward. Yeah. Push the plunger and see who wins this round. Kind of like a
Yeah.
Russian
Yeah.
roulette kind of situation. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like Living in Misery would be the last one, I think, too.
Back as Blue.
Huh?
Back
Blue is
as
blue.
Blue, right?
Blue is blue.
Blue is blue. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm thinking I should look at my screen when I read these out. Instead of just going off the dome. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like just being in something that is just killing you, basically,
Well, yeah. Why do we pull the trigger to each other's chest, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
That's basically,
it's right there.
Yep. Pretty clear one. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing that, Nina.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time, actually.
No, it's been a blast having you. Thanks for being so patient with me and going through all the stuff. It's been a joy to have you on.
It wasn't me being patient at all. I really enjoyed it. I just am terrible at explaining those songs.
It's fine.
I had a really good time.
There's no wrong way to do it, and
yeah, true, yeah.
So last thing, and I do want to be deeply appreciative of your time here, but it's the last thing I do. It's the only canned question that I ever ask folks.
Okay.
You can choose to interpret however you like.
What are your inspirations? Don't tell me that.
No. It's why do you do what you do?
Oh, the fucking money. I make scads of money. I make so much money. I do it for money. Oh, money. The big money. You wouldn't believe how much money I'm making. Yeah, no.
Press your luck over here.
I mean that's a good. I do it for I mean, I think I grew up in a very creative household. My both parents were quite creative people, and so it became a kind of practice early on. And then I think I continued doing it because it's kind of got me through a lot of things. I mean, I think that there's a draw to do any kind of writing or or singing or painting or anything, comes from a sort of an idea to escape, and dive into a whole other world. And then there's this need to kind of sort of justify your existence and be like, look what I did. There's a lot of that. There's definitely that. I can't lie. There's like, look what I did. I'm okay. Like there's a little bit of that. But yeah, I mean, so, and there's just, joy and love of doing it that is just always there. And I think that when you do try to make a business out of it, it's tricky, right? Because it's like you have to always make sure it's not like eating away at the things that the reason why you're doing it, which is the pure joy of doing it. It's like you can't help it. Kind of can't help doing it. Got to do it. Does that answer it?
Absolutely. No, and I, for one, am very glad that you do, and I think you do it very well.
Thank you.
So,
well, I so appreciate you having me on. It's great.
I deeply appreciate you coming on, and I certainly hope it's not going to be the last time.
Oh yeah, anytime.
And I'll put all the link to the new record in the show notes and all that, so folks can check it out. But
that's fantastic. Thank you.
Really love having you on, and thank you so much for doing it. It's long overdue.
Oh, great. Well, I'm really happy you asked me. It's been fun.
Deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Till next time.
See you, Nina.
Okay.
There she goes. Nastasia. What a sport. What a sport she is. What a great artist. I'm going to play us out with, I'm going to take advantage of this whole video thing that we can do here. And we're going to do, play it on the video for Move Away Towns. It's the official video for Move Away Towns, everybody. And this is, depending on when you are listening to it, either not out yet or still very new. So this is Move Away Towns, and
see what we can do for each other.
Let's try from the beginning. There we go.
Come and see what we can do for each other. Move from town to town and soon we'll discover why can keep going on and on. We're two of a kind, and there is no other. We'll trick them with bait and take all what they can offer. And for an escape, we'll take a swim in the water. Clean ourselves before we say goodbye. I'll never get tired living this way if I'm living with you. Running from fires until we're in the clear, clear out of view. I wanna make sure that you love me as I love you. Making our way and I don't care who you might love to. Let's go to Nevada, maybe Summerlin North, Lone Mountain, Nevada, and the desert shore, drifting through the night. The days seem long, but we know the place is too wrong. The fires burn strong whenever we're left on our own. We've got something special here, something that moves us along. I'll never be worried with you. We've got horses to ride. I never get tired living this way if I'm living with you. Running from fires until we're in the clear, clear out of view. I wanna make sure that you love me as I love you. Making our way and I don't care who you might love to. Let's go to Nevada, maybe Summerlin North, Lone Mountain, Nevada, and the desert shore, drifting through the night.
There you go. There you go, everybody. Jolie Laide. Move Away Towns is the name of that song. Whole records available where you get such things. Like Bandcamp. You can get on the Bandcamp. You can get on the other platforms as well, depending on when you're listening to this. It's a self-titled record, Jolie Laide. Jolielaide. It's French. Of course, the incredible Nina Nastasia. Wow. That was a great time. I hope y'all got something out of that. Good stuff. Heavy, but good stuff. She's a hell of an artist. Name of the show is Conan, Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you so very much for listening to it. The show airs Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Streaming on YouTube and Twitch. Of course, podcasted later, always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. However, if you like the show and you want to get episodes sooner,
signing off.
$1 a month at patreon.com/Protonic Reversal.
All the ships at sea.
supports the show, keeps the lights on and everything,
Everyone within the sound of my
and
voice.
get those episodes sooner. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the show.
50,000 watts of power.
Liking, subscribing on your platform of choice, sharing the episodes around, leaving comments, all that stuff. All that helps people discover the show, and I appreciate that because that's how you beat back the almighty algorithm. It's just a darn nice thing to do.
Microphone turns sound into electricity.
Simon Bonnie of Crime the City Solution next, then Marnie Stern after that. Stick with it, man. And stay safe out there.
Out on Route 128, the dark and lonely.
Check you later.
I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 See the radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. This is